Hello and welcome to Cartographica's website, macgis.com. In this quick tour, I will highlight the new overlay operations in Cartographica version 1.4. Overlay operations are useful in many contexts when working with spatial data, as they make limiting or expanding datasets via spatial location simpler and more efficient. To highlight how overlay operations work in Cartographica, I will demonstrate with data from DCGIS. To perform an overlay operation, go to the Tools menu and perform overlay operation. This is the overlay operation window. The top pane is called the target layers pane. The target layer is the layer that will be manipulated during the overlay operation. This box is used to identify which layer will be used as the operation layer, or the layer that will spatially define the overlay operation. The field mapping window allows you to select which data fields will be copied or deleted when performing an overlay operation that combines data. For the clip and erase functions, which we will begin with, the field mapping window is not used because there is no combination of data. Clip and erase functions only remove layer features that do not meet the overlay operations parameters. The drop-down menu in the top left of the overlay operations window allows you to select the various overlay operations. We can begin by looking at the clip function. For this example, we are going to clip the metro stations layer. So if we look in the list of layers in the target layers window, you can see the metro stations layer. But first we need to select which layer will be the operation layer. In this case, we're going to use the central sector layer. This layer is the central sector for the fire battalions within the city of Washington, D.C. Next, we need to select the target layer, so we'll click on the Metro Stations layer, and then click Perform. You can see a new layer added to the layer stack called Metro Stations with the word clipped in parentheses. This indicates that this is the layer that was produced by the overlay operation. We can move this layer to the top of the layer stack, uncheck the original Metro Stations layer, and check the new Metro Stations layer. You can see that all of the metro stations outside of the central fire battalion sector have been removed via the clip operation. Next, we can look at the erase function. Again, select the Tools menu and perform overlay operation. In the menu in the top left, change the selection from clip to erase. Again, we're going to use the central sector as the operation layer, and this time we are going to erase the metro lines within the central sector. So we'll select the metro lines as the target layer and click Perform. Again, you see a new layer added to the layer stack, this time titled Metro Lines with the word erased in parentheses. This indicates that this is the layer that was produced from the erase function. Move this layer to the top of the layer stack, uncheck the original Metro Lines layer, and check the new Metro Lines layer. You can see all of the Metro lines that were within the central battalion sector have been removed via the erase function. Next, we can look at the intersection function. The intersection function creates a new layer based on the intersection of multiple polygon layers. The intersection is the area where the polygon areas share space. If two polygons share no space, then the operation will create a blank layer. So to use the intersection function, come to the Tools menu and perform overlay operation. Change the drop-down menu to Intersect. Notice that the operations box has been removed, and this is because for the intersection function there is not an operation layer because we are combining two data sets. So we have the central sector and command click on the park polygon layer. So we're going to combine these two layers via the spatial intersection. So what that means is we're going to create a new layer that will have parks that are within the central sector. But one of the reason this is a little bit different than just a selection of parks is that the field mapping table down here allows you to take fields that are within the central sector layer and apply those to the parks where those intersections are occurring. So of importance here is the battalion field. The battalion field will assign a new field to the park polygon layer that tells us which fire battalions are assigned to protect those parks. So with everything selected, we can click Perform. So you can see a new layer added to the layer stack titled Intersection of Layers. You can move this layer to the top of the layer stack and turn on the layer. And then we can turn off the central sector layer to see the parks. So the red parks you see on screen are the places where the park layer intersected with the central battalion layer. If we look at the intersection of layers layer, we can see that there is a field called battalion. So this indicates that these parks, there are 143 parks within the central battalion. You can see that down here, 0 out of 143, that all of these parks are protected by the 6th Battalion. The final overlay operation I will highlight is the Identify tool. However, before I do that, I'm going to uncheck the top 3 layers in the layer stack to reveal the layers below. The layers we are going to be dealing with while working with the Identify tool are the No ID Park layer and the Park Polygon layer. The No ID Park layer is a selection of 5 parks within the Central Battalion sector. If you notice down in the data viewer, these parks do not have attribute data. And so what we are going to do with the Identify tool is use the Park Polygon layer and the attributes within the Park Polygon layer to identify those parks within the No ID Park layer. So to do that, click Tools and Perform Overlay Operation. Change the drop-down menu to Identify. We're going to identify the No ID Park layer with the Park Polygon layer, so we'll click and drag the Park Polygon layer to the Identify With box. And we will select the No ID Park layer as the target layer. The field mapping window down below shows you which fields will be copied from the Park Polygon layer to the No ID Park layer. In the Operations column, you can select the arrows, and you can choose to ignore any one of the fields within the Park Polygon layer. Also, notice that there are a number of aggregation tools that you can use. With everything selected, you can click Perform. Notice that in the layer stack there's a new layer titled Identified Layer. You can click on that layer and then view the data viewer. Those 5 parks that we had selected before now have attribute data applied from the Park Polygon layer. It's overlay operations in Cartographica version 1.4. Thank you for listening.